So here we are again. I've actually decided not to change my dress. I'm just going to carry on with this. And the reason why I'm doing it in 15-minute sort of spurts is because I'm not sure if I can do videos over 20 minutes on this channel. On my other channel, I pay premium YouTube because I can't stand the adverts. Because I love YouTube. I love watching YouTube. I listen to YouTube all night long. The relaxing stories. One of the stories are Get Sleepy. That's a great channel, that is. If you have trouble sleeping of a night, put Get Sleepy on, where we listen, we relax, and we get sleepy. That's what the guy says. He's English. And I'm asleep. I can't even remember hearing the beginning. I get about to once upon a time, bosh, and I'm out. So I really recommend that channel. And that's another thing I will do. I will recommend other channels, TV shows, and all that sort of thing on here. But at the moment, we're still on to the basics. On my last video, which you do need to sort of watch my videos one after the other because it is sort of continuing. That was, except I'd started my divorce. I'd lived in Southern California for a year, all four of us, which is my ex-husband and my two sons, and my French bulldog, and I then adopted a Shar-Pei as well. So I do love my dogs. I got us back to Southern California, but my ex-husband and I were going on a horrible divorce. I had lost both my parents, and I'm an only child. I lost my mum when I was 39. My dad sort of lost the plot a little bit after we lost my mum, which I found almost as painful as losing my mum to watch. He then had a stroke, which was awful. And if anyone ever wants to talk about their experiences of family members having a stroke and how heartbreaking it is to watch that, let me know, and I'll talk about that in detail. And also about bereavement, about losing parents at quite a young age. I would be happy to do something like that. It's not a very happy topic, but it really made me quite ill for a while, losing them, losing my mum, losing my dad so soon after, witnessing my dad have that stroke. And the prognosis was that he wasn't going to survive much over a year. The doctors said. My dad was such a vivacious, funny, energetic man. He had such an energy. He was so positive. He was hilarious. He'd make you laugh. My mum was also very funny. Obviously, she was a very talented woman. She was funny too, real strong character. And I was an only child. I was very, very close to them. I was a real trio. We were a real trio at one time, and I didn't have a serious boyfriend until I was nearly 20 years old. So I was very, very close with my mum and my dad, but very close with my mum up until I got my first boyfriend, and then that all sort of, things changed a bit between me and my mum. So that's another story. But yeah, we were very, very close. And when I lost them, when I lost my mum, the first thing I did was look at my own life and think, oh my God, I'm the next one to go. I'm going to be the next one to go. It's my mum, then it's me. You know, it goes down like that. I'm going to be, death happens. This life comes to an end. And I thought, what do I want to do? What do I want to do before I die? What do I want to do? What do I really want to do? I want to be in a big show again. I want to live in a different country. I don't want to stay here, blah, 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 blah. And it just changed my whole evaluation of life. My ex-husband was quite controlling in the fact that he didn't like me working away unless it was a Singers in Disguise gig where he knew exactly where I was going, who I was working with. He didn't like the idea of me being in a big show. because he was basically afraid I was going to have an affair. And he really made it very difficult he made me turn down jobs. There was two. There was one show I got offered at the Royal Opera House, Covent Garden. It was to be Cinderella in Into the Woods, and it wasn't well paid for a West End job, and it was the Limbury Studios. In fact, it was pretty badly paid for something as prestigious as the Limbury Studios, but I should have done that job, but unfortunately he and my mum made me get myself out of it. They really sort of like bullied me about that. And I did really regret it, and I think that was a mistake. And then years later, my mum was no longer around. In fact, it was about 6 years later, and I lost my mum, and I decided I wanted to be in a big show, and I'd never done a big pantomime. Pantomime is big Christmas musicals in England. And I got offered to do one with Kudos, who is the biggest pantomime producer in the world. But world being that they're only really done in the United Kingdom anyway, but they're certainly the biggest producers in the United Kingdom. So they're like the West End, they're like the Cameron Mackintosh of the pantomimes. And I got offered a lead role in that, like the Good Fairy. And I was going to do it, there was no way I was going to turn that down, but it was in a place called Plymouth, which is like a 4-hour drive from where I live. But my children were young, the business was busy, but my ex-husband was not at work at all in the day. He did 3 night shifts and then 5 days off. And so I felt that the distance would do us good because we were with each other 24/7. And I don't think any relationships do well when you're working together, you're sleeping together, you're playing together, you're doing this. It's too much. And I, for one, needed a little bit of space, and I needed to be in a big show again. I had arranged all childcare. We had a part-time nanny called Janet, who I still absolutely love, and we loved Janet. I got another lady, so on the 3 nights he was actually at work, I had these ladies staying there looking after them, and then he was there the rest of the time. And it was I was only away for, gosh, how long was it for? It was about 5 weeks. It wasn't even that long. But he really made my life hell leading up to that. And I was determined to do it this time. I was like, no, you're not going to make me turn down and lose another job like this. I'm not going to do it. And that was the beginning of the end for us. My dad was still alive then, but I knew that I couldn't live with someone who was like I was his child, giving me permission to do things I wanted to do. What? So, no, I wasn't going to have that any longer. I'd had it for long enough. So I remember when we'd applied for the green card, and I have to be honest in the fact that he encouraged me to do it. I wouldn't have had the courage, but he did. He enticed me. He said, well, just go for it. If you don't get it, you don't get it. And I thought I wasn't going to get it, but by luck, we had an engagement in New York. I met up with a dear friend of mine who I'd worked with in West End International, who had emigrated to America, along with another lady who I'd worked with in West End International, who'd emigrated, both of them to New York. And he put me in touch with his lawyer in New York, who specialised in artists. I'd been to an English lawyer, and she'd said, forget it, you're never going to get it. So definitely the English lawyer was, the glass is half empty. But when I went to see the American lawyer, the glass was half full. He was like, yeah, looking at your career, I can get it for you. I'll get it for you. And it took 2.5 years. And I thought I wasn't going to get it, which is why I bought the vacation property in Dana Point in 2015. And the funny thing was, I signed the contract in the October to own that property in Dana Point, and 3 weeks later in November my green card came through. and I got it. And I was so happy. I knew I was going to get it. I just knew, because I really felt it was meant to be. It was meant to be. And I know they say manifest. Back then, I don't even know if we knew what manifesting was. And if I was manifesting it, I was always told not to block things by saying you've got something before you got it. But I just couldn't believe that I wasn't going to get my green card so that I could live and work in America. And my children got it, and my ex-husband got it as well. And he still got it. It lasts till 2025. We got it 10 years. It lasts 10 years. I'm a citizen now. But I just couldn't believe I wasn't going to get it. But I think that he thought I wasn't going to get it, because I remember he was at the station. I phoned him up and I said, "You're not going to believe it. You're not going to believe it. Guess what? Guess what? I've got the green card. We've got it. We've got it." And instead of him being in jubilation like me, he was like, "Well, I'm not going to go unless it's right for me." And I was like, "What? That's not the reaction. I thought you was going to go, hooray, hooray. After all this time, we got it." And it just all went downhill from there. It went all downhill from there. He started really backpedaling. He, we'd gone through all this to get it, a lot of money. And then when it came through, he didn't want it. Again, now I can understand why. But at the time, I was really hurt by that. But I knew in my heart that there was no way I wasn't going to go. There was no way I wasn't going to go, and there was no way I wasn't going to take my kids with me, because I truly believed that the opportunity for my children in America, especially places in America I wanted to live, which was California or New York, the opportunity was going to be better for them now than in the United Kingdom. We'd just had Gordon Brown had been Prime Minister, Labour Prime Minister, and I used to listen to a channel called LBC a lot. I was very into politics, and I still am into politics, but I was very into politics in England. And I was very up on what was going on. And I remember hearing a quote from Gordon Brown saying he advised any student that was going to get a degree or had a degree in the United Kingdom to go and live in Europe. This was before we actually became part of Europe and before we Brexited. He said, "Abandon the sinking ship while you can." And he was referring to the United Kingdom, and that was the president, the Prime Minister. And I was like, what? Well, I'm hauling my son's houses out of here then in that case. If I get the opportunity, I'm getting my boys out. And I still say that England is one of the best countries in the world to live in. Hands down it is. London is without doubt one of the best cities, if not the best city in the world. I'm going to learn now if London or New York is the best. I can already say that the London Underground is better than the subway. I can already tell you that. I know our underground system's really expensive, but it's much better than the subway. Much better than the subway. It's cleaner, it runs more efficiently, I think it's more simple to understand. So we're already one up, but we'll see. I have a lot to learn about New York. Yes, so that was the beginning of that happening, where my ex-husband was not as overjoyed as I was when I got my green card, and that was very, very upsetting after what we'd been through to get it. And I'd lost my mum, my dad was very, very ill, and I just thought, come on, this can be the new beginning that we're looking for. It's going to be, we are Dorothy going into the land of Oz.